welcome back to my channel, Dark Enigmas, where we talk about all of the spooky mysteries in life. So today I have a case for you that is just gonna make you angry. It makes me so angry. Every time I hear about this case, it just there's no justice. There is people who know and aren't coming forward. It's just you just get so mad. And this case is also another local one to the Kansas City area, and it blew up on Unsolved Mysteries, the new reboot. It's the Alonzo Brooks case, and Unsolved Mysteries did a pretty good job covering it, but I want to come and talk about it because someone knows something in this case, and just coming forward with the information you have could just blow this case wide open and could bring justice to this family and to Alonzo. So let's talk about Alonzo. He was born May 21st, 1980, to Billy Brooks and Maria Ramirez. He is mixed Black and Mexican, and that comes up later. He grew up in Topeka, Kansas, and he is 23 years old at the time of his death. He was working as a custodian in Gardner, Kansas, and he kind of hung out around the general area. Topeka is about 30 minutes from Kansas City, kind of give or take, and Gardner is kind of on the Kansas side, close to Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas. The night of the incident was April 3rd, 2004. Now, as story goes, there was kind of rumors of this party out in Cygne, Kansas. Now, this is a good little while from Gardner, where he was working, and I'm not sure if he lived in Gardner or in Topeka, but it's all in the general kind of area, but it is a longer way. And to give you some background on Cygne, it's a very white, Midwest, nothing town. The population is not very big. There's not a ton of minorities living there. It is primarily white country people. And people who aren't familiar with tiny Kansas towns don't understand this, but yeah, it's a tiny town. So Alonzo and a couple of his friends heard about this party kind of word of mouth. Apparently there was someone who was going to the military, and so they were having one last party to kind of send him off. And so Justin, who is in the documentary, the Unsolved Mysteries documentary, and Alonzo and a couple other friends decide we're all going to go out to Cygne and we're going to go to this party. It seems strange to people that they would go so far out of their way to go to a party they didn't really know a lot of people at, but I think that's just kind of the culture of small town Kansas. You're looking for something to do. And if you know somebody who knows somebody who has a party, you're gonna go just to get out of the house and do something. So April 3rd, Alonzo and his friends jump in their car and they go to Cygne, Kansas. Now, when they arrived, Alonzo was having fun. Like, I guess the first thing he said when he got out of the car was like, "Who wants a beer?" And he was excited and ready to party and having a good time. From kind of word of mouth, we hear that Alonzo is one of the oldest people at the party. He was 23, and there was quite a bit of younger people. So this is kind of like a high school, early college kind of party. And Justin describes in the documentary that he kind of hears like a scuffle and a fight, and he looks over and people are saying some very racial things to Alonzo. Now, I'm sure that this is not new to Alonzo, but this is not good. It seems like he kind of got into a little fight with someone over what they had said, and they had used racial terms. Now, that comes up also as we keep going. You see that this is kind of a smaller town that doesn't do well with people outside of that community. And there's also lots of rumors around Cygne. I did not find factually a lot of information, of course, but word of mouth, it is a very racist town. There is a rumor that their motto is, if you are black, don't let the sun see your back. And Alonzo, not maybe knowing what he was walking into, possibly got into a very horrible situation at this party. But this little fight happens, this racial slur was thrown out. Alonzo, of course, reacts, and that's kind of all we hear about this scuffle. Yeah. So a little bit into the party, I don't think they were there very long. His friend Justin, who brought Alonzo to the party, was like, hey, man, I'm gonna go get some cigarettes, or whatever guys say to each other, and he leaves. Now, Justin accounts of the night is that he got his truck stuck on a back road, and he kind of broke down and couldn't come back to the party. So now Justin's left. He also says that he called one of his other friends at the party to tell Alonzo to get another ride home. So Alonzo's primary ride is now gone, and it seems to be he doesn't have a phone or isn't using his phone. So it kind of seems that he's kind of stuck at this party now. We don't get a lot of information from the friends there or people at the party. No one's talking about the events that happened this night. And that's another huge red flag, is that no one's talking about it. No one's explaining what happened. Or even when, like, how Alonzo was supposed to get home. So, red flag. So we're going to fast forward to the next morning. Maria Ramirez, who is Alonzo's mom, wakes up and realizes that he didn't come home. So he must have been living with her, at least part-time or full-time. I'm not sure, but she wakes up, she realizes Alonzo's not home. And I think what triggers her to see that he's not home is someone called and said, hey, did Alonzo get home last night? And she's like, let me look, and he's not there. And this was very unlike Alonzo not to go home. He didn't really go spend the night at places. He primarily went back to Topeka to be with his mom. And so this set off alarm bells in his mom's mind of okay, something is not right. So she starts calling around to all of the friends, and no one has seen him since the night before. So now we have Alonzo missing. The next day, I think I'm not sure about his dad, but some of his family members and his friends traveled to Cygne to go try to find him. They think maybe he got stuck out there somewhere and they're gonna find out where he is. So they go to the location of the party. Now, this is so strange. They are looking in windows, they are trying to find Alonzo, and the house is completely empty. Now, there was a huge party the night before, and in the morning when they go, the house is empty. So someone or people or something happened where they decided they were going to clean up this house before they left. Now, this could be completely innocent, that maybe this guy went off to the military and they're like, we got to clean up before he goes. But it is strange that there's no sign of anyone being around when there was a huge party the night before. As they were looking around for Alonzo, they started to feel very uncomfortable in La Cygne. Like I said, there's rumors that people in the community don't really take well to outsiders, and when they have someone kind of like sniffing around or looking around their property, it really made them upset. And they talked about an incident where a man comes up on a four-wheeler and tells them to get off the property. And so Alonzo's family and friends are, of course, distressed about this. Their loved one, their family member, is missing, and they're told to go away. And so they go to the police station and report him missing. As they're looking around the property where the party took place, they found Alonzo's hat and his boots. Now, Alonzo was wearing a shirt, jeans, a sweater, a beanie hat, and boots the night that he disappeared. And when his family and friends were looking, they kind of saw his hat and his boots like someone had maybe like thrown them out the window on the side of the road as they were looking for him. And they thought, oh my gosh, now something is really wrong, because Alonzo doesn't have his shoes. He's walking around or, somewhere without his shoes. The house where the party took place is interesting. The family had talked to the landlord, who said that 3 males were renting the house and that they were getting evicted or had been evicted or something of that nature. But the partygoers say that it was a kind of going away party. So who knows if all of that or some of that is true. The property of the party is pretty interesting because it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by fields. I'll try to put a picture here so you can see. But there is the house and a barn kind of thing, and then a creek, and then mostly it's surrounded by fields. And this is very common for a small Kansas town to look similar to this. So his family looks as much as they can. They get kicked off the property. They look as much as they can for him, and there's no sign of Alonzo. And that missing report, the police were kind of like, maybe he's just walking around somewhere. But his family, that doesn't make sense. He doesn't have any shoes. Where is he walking? On April 7th, the KBI, or the Kansas Bureau of Investigation, took over the case, and they did a massive search. They did an air search. They brought in scent dogs, cadaver dogs. They did an underwater search in the creek with sonar, and they did not find anything of Alonzo. Now, investigators are still going under the assumption that he walked away or walked somewhere, or tried to walk home. Like, the investigators told the family he probably tried to walk home, which is absurd. This kid doesn't have any shoes, and where is he supposed to go? He's, at least an hour from home at this point in Lacine. Like, where is he supposed to go? So on May 1st, the KBI kind of pulls out of the investigation and the search and tells the family, if you want to go search the property, you can go. We didn't find anything. And so all of his family and friends head over out to Lacine, and they start searching. Half an hour into their search, they find Alonzo's body in the creek. This is not adding up. How does the family find the body of their loved one 30 minutes into a search when the KBI and the FBI has done searches, extensive searches, and not found anything? I mean, something is happening here. There is something going on with this. Now, I'll get more into Dr. Eric Mitchell here in a little bit, but there's a lot to discuss about that man. But he did the autopsy, and he noted that Alonzo was decomposed. I mean, supposedly he had been out there a month. He was still in his clothing. He had a ring on him, and in the Unsolved Mysteries episode, the mom shows that they had given her his wallet back, and there are papers in his wallet that were completely fine. No water damage, no ink running. It didn't even look like the papers had been in water. And he was found in the creek. So that's odd. There was no evidence of gunshot wound, big injuries to Alonzo's body. He said that there could be evidence of strangulation, but they don't know because of the decomposition in his neck. There just wasn't enough there to find that out or not. The manner and the cause of death in the Alonzo Brooks case are both marked as unknown. Now, Eric Mitchell, the forensic pathologist, has an extensive history. He was previously working in New York, but he had been to some other states where he had worked. And this man has a lengthy record for not handling cases well. He has gotten a lot of stuff wrong. In major cases, not even in New York, but also in Kansas as well. There is a record of him getting terminated in New York because he was keeping organs from the bodies in his office, and also doing horrible things around bodies, which is very disrespectful. And you can look up a lot into him. There's a lot of rumors, but there's also some facts out there as well that he just doesn't know what he's doing. So yeah, that's the guy that did the autopsy on Alonzo. So most of what he's saying, or all of what he's saying, could not even be true. So we don't really even know. But luckily for us, in 2019, the case was reopened. I think it was due to a lot of the exposure from the Unsolved Mysteries case, and the push to kind of find answers in this case. But it was reopened, and there was some startling new evidence in the case. The KBI is kind of keeping a lot of that information from the public. They do that in a lot of cases so that if they do have a suspect that knows certain facts, that it can really point back to them, and they can be the only one that kind of knows that. So the full autopsy report is not open to the public. I mean, of course, since it's an ongoing investigation now. But they exhumed Alonzo in July of 2020, and they did another autopsy. So the new autopsy is done by an armed forces medical examiner in the Air Force, on the Air Force Base. So hopefully we get some answers, some real answers in this case soon. There has been a lot of talk and a few facts that have kind of leaked about the new autopsy. In the new autopsy, the medical examiner has said that it is definitely ruled a homicide. So now we have an ongoing homicide investigation. The new medical examiner that did the new autopsy also said that the decomposition is not consistent. Now, I'm not sure what to read into that, but from what I've seen, some reports say is that the activity around the body, as far as insects, animal activity, and decomp, is not consistent with him being in the water in that creek for a month. Now, I did a lot of research on decomp, and there is 5 stages of decomposition with the human body. The first 24 to 27 hours after your death is the fresh decomp. 3 to 5 days after death is the bloat phase, where your gases in your body release and you bloat up. In the water, it's also called bloat and float, and so you float to the top because of all those gases being released. 8 to 10 days, you're in active decay, where your body is completely breaking down. And then several weeks, you're in advanced decay. And then 1 month, you go into dry and skeletal remains after that. And the body kind of begins to liquefy. Now, this timeline, for every person, every situation, every weather type, is different. There's not a clear how many days this will happen. There's an amazing organization and people and scientists who study the decay and the decomp of the human body. There is a body farm. There's a couple body farms in the US where their only means of studying is putting a body and just seeing what it does in that environment. So they might lay a body out in a field and let it decomp and see. They might put a body underwater. They observe these bodies over a period of time, and that's where this information is coming from. So there's scientific means to prove all of this stuff happens. There's just so many different ways and conditions and factors of when this happens and how much decay you have, so forth and so on. And that's the scientist and the medical examiner and the investigator's job to kind of match everything to make a story. In the Alonzo Brooks case, the story just doesn't fit. There is no clear path to where all of this makes perfect sense. And that's what you're looking for in an investigation. And with this scientific proof is that all of this just lines up, and it doesn't. And that's, I think, why there's so much mystery around the Alonzo Brooks case, is because any way you look at it, it doesn't add up. There's no way that he was just in the river for a month. No one found him on those huge searches they did. The decomposition of him doesn't line up with that. And we're just left questioning. And when you're left questioning, all of these theories just come out. And people talk. And people rumor. And there's so many theories in this case. And a lot of them are based around the fact that it doesn't make sense. The medical examiner did say that bug activity was a huge thing. In animal activity. I mean, in the middle of Kansas in April, in a river, you're going to have bugs, you're going to have animal activity. And she was saying in her report that that didn't line up and that wasn't consistent with his death. So I'm interested to see what comes out about that. So, like I said, there's just so many theories in this case, and I kind of wanted to mention them because, like I said, none of them make sense. So, Alonzo's at this party, and we just have this time missing from the party to the next day, and also beyond that, the rest of the month to when he is found. And the friends aren't talking. The police, or the people at the party, are not talking to the police. And this is why this case is so frustrating, is because someone knows something that's going to help. Do I believe this is a homicide? After this new medical examiner came out and said, I mean, yes, it's fact. It's a homicide. But there are still people believe that it could have been accidental. I've seen some people who think that maybe he was running from someone or from the party and he tripped, fell into the river. But there would be some kind of evidence of him having an injury. So that doesn't quite add up. There's also the theory that maybe they drowned him in the river, held his face underwater, that someone did that. And that kind of lines up, because if he was being held underwater, the rest of his body wouldn't have been exposed to the elements. But yet, he was sitting in the river or on this creek for a month, and the decomp doesn't match up. And also, they didn't find him. There's just so many holes in that. That doesn't line up fully for me either. Another theory that I heard was that someone at the party took him, held him, tortured him, maybe put him in a freezer, which would kind of slow down that decomp, and then placed him where he was found after the KBI and FBI investigation, which this theory I think makes the most sense with evidence, but it's horrific. You don't want to think that people would do that. So it's hard to compute that in my head as well. Yeah. I mean, there are motives in this case. The biggest motive being that this was a hate crime, which I think, since it's rolled a homicide, that is what it was. I don't think he was killed at random. I think this was because he was a person of color in a white town, and either he was just being a person of color, or I've also seen talks that he was flirting or talking to a girl or hooking up with a girl at the party who was white, and maybe the partygoers didn't like that. But anyway you slice it, this is a hate crime, and he was killed for being a person of color in a white town, and that's horrific. And it's hard to believe, but unfortunately, that is the reality for a lot of people in America and across the world, but especially in America right now, because tensions are so high. And this was before the Black Lives Matter movement. But this is happening present day, and it makes me scared for our future. It makes me sad for our future, and it makes me angry. It makes me incredibly angry that this has happened. I, being white, have no idea what a person of color goes through. And I will never even fathom the kind of prejudice that people have to face. And it just makes me so sad for Alonzo, because his death was completely unjustified. And we have to talk about this. We have to do something about this, because people are being murdered for nothing and losing their lives. And these families are going on knowing that their loved ones' last moments were hate-filled and horrible. And that's not okay. And so my big motivation for doing this case especially, but also this channel, is to address those things and to put some heat on people, because there are people who have done this. There are people who know about it, who know who've done this, and are not saying a word. And to those people I say, how dare you? How dare you believe that you are justified in letting this family and this man go without justice for this long? And I encourage anyone who has any information in the brutal slaying of this man to come forward, because you might be the link that breaks this case open and who brings these people to justice. We need to call out this racist, horrible killer and put them behind bars for what they did to this man. And I really hope and I really believe that we're going to find that. I really believe that someone's conscience is going to take over. I believe that there's going to be evidence come forward. I believe in my heart that this case is going to be solved. And I'm just waiting for the day that we can celebrate that Alonzo's killer is brought to justice, and that everyone at that party can be brought to justice and know that what they did was wrong. And so I feel so badly for this man and this family, and I really hope that we get some justice behind this. So that is all for me in this case. I'm gonna stop rambling. I've said my piece on this case, and I really, really hope that we get news that it turned out where we can finally convict someone. So let me know what you think of this case. Put some heat on some people in those comments. Come together, my watchers and my subscribers, and tell these people in the comments, please come forward. Please, let's solve this case. Go watch the Unsolved Mysteries episode. It's called like A Long Walk Home or A Walk Home or something, but look it up. It's the Alonzo Brooks case. Watch that. Tell me your comments below. Give me some other cases to do. I have a few that I want to do, but I'm always looking for more. Give me some good books that you've read or some good cases to research. I will see you guys next time. Bye. All right, gotta not be so angry, but I'm angry. I deserve to be angry. Everyone deserves to be angry. This case makes me angry, and I deserve that. Whoever you are, we're gonna find you.